Storm, hi. Hey, hi, hello. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. This is Nigel. Say hi. And welcome to another episode of Book Community, where I try to keep you abreast of the shenanigans in the bookish community. And of course, there are more. Why would I ever be surprised? Why would I think summertime and the heat would make people calm down? They don't. So I have a mix of things. Some things are older that I either forgot or didn't get to cover in previous videos, and then some things are very recent. So let's get into the tea, shall we? Quick, as I was going through my bookmarks this morning, I saw this tweet that was quote by Ancrum, who's the author of The River King, The Weight of the Stars, and then a recent release, Darling. And so Darling is a contemporary book, but I guess that people have marked it as fantasy. What? Sit down. Sit down, please. So Kayla said, people who categorize Darling as a fantasy on Goodreads when it's a contemporary with no magic, causing all the high concept magic loving readers to flock to it and be disappointed that it's actually a thriller and now they're calling it boring, please. You're killing me. All of my books are contemporary. I don't have the attention span to design magic rules or the spatial awareness to design fantasy worlds, so I stay in my lane. Boy! Stop eating my cardi. I don't have the attention span to design magic rules or the spatial awareness to design fantasy worlds, so I stay in my lane with what I can do. Gay stress in small towns. Please don't make this The Weight of the Stars isn't set in space all over again. The enthusiasm is nice, and I'm sure some people who like fantasy might be surprised by liking it. But people who tend to be pretty deep into sci-fi and fantasy tend not to enjoy my slower paced contemporary. It's just a bunch of people standing around and talking. So she did include a photo from Goodreads where the genres, and the top genre is fantasy. It has 152 users marked it as fantasy and only 39 as contemporary. So if you thought that Darling by Ancrum was going to be fantasy or sci-fi, it is not. It is a contemporary thriller. So please don't go into it thinking it's fantasy and then be disappointed and rate it low on Goodreads. It's very unfair to the author. What do you want? Hey, look. Could you get off of my cardi? You know, sometimes I understand y'all want Nigel to be in videos, but sometimes he is very uncooperative. He's very much a diva, hard to work with, as like today. Hey, Nigel, the people want to see you. Can you behave? Tell them hello. Now you can't see the giraffe on my shirt because I'm holding a big old baby, but this is another quick thing I wanted to mention because I've seen this before and I can't find that older tweet, but this was a few days ago. So author KJ Charles has a screenshot and said, big thanks to the reader who took time to report every instance of dare say to Amazon as an error rather than just looking it up. So now I have to deal with 11 reports. Valuable use of all our time. Where are you going? Nigel. Okay. Andrew! Child stars are unbelievable. So difficult to work with. And I've seen this with people, like, I guess if there's glaring errors, when there's something you don't understand in the context and you report every single one of them. One, I didn't know you could even do that on Amazon. I guess that's through Kindle. But they have a screenshot of the report. And then Tasha L. Harrison, another author, said, had a reader do this with every instance of slang or AAVE they didn't understand in Liquor and Laundry. That was a day. And Tasha L. Harrison is a Black author and it's so annoying. She also said, yep. It's part of the reason why I cringe when I see a whole bunch of white folks reading my books, especially since I don't use a ton of slang AAVE, but when I do, I'm not offering translations. I don't know what that person expected, but I don't do that. And this is something that came up months ago in a community video where someone was saying that when you're writing a book, especially from a certain personal or cultural experience, that readers shouldn't expect there to be like a glossary for like you to explain everything in the book. And that is just a prime example. And I couldn't imagine wasting my time reporting everything I didn't understand to Amazon. Instead of using that time to, I don't know, Google it. You could learn something, but that's just me. So a few days ago on Twitter, I saw tweets shared by an author named Tess Sharpe, and their book is the book that they're referencing in this thread is called Far From You. And they said, I'm going to thread about what's happening because I can already see things spiraling. For over a year, a group of Far From You readers have made it a habit to joke about killing me, breaking into my home, etc. I ignored this until I started getting tagged last year. At that time, I made a thread expressing how uncomfortable these jokes were to me, an abuse and sexual assault survivor with PTSD who has received lots of real death threats and invasions of privacy. I appealed to them to stop. They did not. I have made other threads appealing to them to please stop this behavior because it really freaks me out. I block as many as I can, but they bring new people into their group and those people will tag me. It's clearly become a really disturbing game because these readers not only want freedom to harass me and threaten me, but they want access to the work that fans only get if a creator feels safe within a fandom. And they've created an environment where I don't feel safe, so now they try to trick me. This is not healthy behavior, nor is the swath of you who follow me under private accounts to endless quote tweet me on private. I am concerned if you are young and think it's funny to trigger a person's PTSD. You need to step back and consider if you truly think that's funny. Context warning for a PTSD reaction in my next tweet. The first time my partner accidentally triggered my PTSD, all he did was tap on the window from outside, but I hadn't realized he'd gone outside. 2 taps. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk, my legs gave out, and I just fell on the floor and choked on my tongue. 2 taps on the window. He was just trying to say hi because he wanted me to look at the bird outside, because as someone who's pretty bedridden, I love looking at birds. And I'm on the floor choking because PTSD is not rational. What is rational is someone saying, hi, you and your friends repeated jokes about murdering me over a book I wrote a decade ago are freaking me out. Can you please stop? What is cruel is to increase these jokes because I can't rationalize them as jokes in any way. Then, and the reason I keep trying to appeal to any empathy within y'all who do keep tagging or who keep doing this is because I was so fucked up at 15, 16, and 17, and most of my anger and pain was directed at myself. And holy shit, did I do damage to myself that's still written all over my body. Content warning, for the rest of this thread, I'm going to talk about suicidal ideation and self-harm. Because I did a lot of damage to myself as a teenager, damage that I can't erase, like you can erase a tweet or a fan account, damage that you face every day in the mirror, scars that are visible because they are not metaphorical. And I was angry. I was in so much pain, physically with a disease I hadn't been diagnosed with yet, and emotionally with things that made me a victim, and on a very hard journey to survivorship. And I don't get to forget that because the reminder was carved into my body by me. I do not get to run away from my teen mistakes. I see them on my legs, on my rib cage, and all over my chest every day. The places I could hide the cuts from everyone that I did hide for years, that I still hide sometimes. I hurt people during this time in my pain and anger, not just by hurting myself or trying to kill myself, but by being a nasty person. And my pain and anger wasn't an excuse for hurting them. I had to own up to it because they were people I wanted to keep in my life. And if you're quote tweeting this thread and mocking me or laughing at me, think about that. I'm laughing at a sexual assault and abuse survivor who's being open about her struggle with self-harm and suicidal ideation. That is not funny. There is no way to explain around that behavior. I have tried to keep my teen self in mind when dealing with the situation, but it continues to grow and become more disturbing and toxic, and the damage I'm most concerned with is this toxic response to PTSD and boundaries happening because queer people often have PTSD. I was not kind to myself as a teen, and I am truly concerned if this is how you view PTSD, you will not be kind to yourself or others if you find yourself in a trauma situation, because you have proven you'll gleefully and knowingly be a trigger. So, okay, one, that thread is heartbreaking, and for fans of a book to send these kind of messages to the author, there's no words for that. It's fucking ridiculous. And so then I saw the reason why they were sending these is because she, or Tess, I'm sorry, I don't know their pronouns and they're not in the Twitter bio, but Tess refused to answer a question or something about a character. So apparently they're doing this because Tess won't give like a birthday for a character, so Elizabeth May has some tweets and adds more context to the story. And so apparently someone tweeted, and again, I'm so sorry for this being something that's made you feel this way. This was never anyone's intentions, nor did anyone want to make you feel like this. We often tell each other to die as a joke. We're all comfortable with it and can sometimes forget not everyone is. And so Elizabeth quote tweeted that and said, oh, we tell each other to die all the time. So when we send an author messages about how we hope they die, it's just us joking and being affectionate. It's not okay. The way you express humor in your in-group is not the way you joke with a person you don't know. This is wild shit. Amen. Then Elizabeth also shared this thread by Dustin, who said, okay, we got to talk about astrology. I try very hard to just let people have their fun things and even weird stuff they believe in that has absolutely zero basis in science or fact, and mostly just keep my nose down. But an author I admire and follow is literally receiving death threats from some obsessive fans of a book she wrote a decade ago because the author does not know/remember the birthday of one of the characters in the books. These fans want to know that info so they can figure out the character's charts and basically say, yep, I was right. She's this sign, and that explains her behavior as a character. And when its author could not provide the info, these fans started creating burner and private accounts to harass and threaten her. They have threatened to break into her house, threatened to destroy her property, have tried to plot what they would do and how many people would be in the author's house. And this author has very kindly engaged with these fans and told them about her writing process and thanked them for being readers and fans. She has also asked them on multiple occasions to stop the harassing behavior, but it's only gotten worse. And they have only gotten larger in numbers as a group. It's almost cult-like the way these so-called fans are acting, and all because an author will not dole out a trivial piece of information about a character, and not even because she won't, because it's just not something that mattered to the story. And now she's getting continued threats and harassment and having past trauma and PTSD drudged up by these people, all because they need to know this character's birth sign. I'm so angry and scared for this author and the way these people are acting on here. I've spent half an hour searching mentions and cross-referencing accounts and tweets. And so it does keep going, but how absolutely absurd. Are you fucking kidding me? Pick a date. Pick any freaking date you want for the character and say, yes, hey, they're a Gemini. Like, why? Nothing inside a fictional book or even a nonfiction book is that serious to start threatening an author over. This is an instance where people really need to go outside and touch some grass, because what the fuck are you doing? Are you kidding me? So there's another tweet, someone quote tweeted Tess's thread, and they said, you see, if you just gave us a date for Sophie Mina's birthday, then none of this would be happening right now. Sorry, Tessie, but you only have yourself to blame here. Some more tweets, and Elizabeth was so kind to cross out their names because I wouldn't have. Say, I'm sorry this is making you feel this way. It's replying to Tess. I'm sorry this is making you feel this way, but if you look at my account specifically, I haven't said anything negative nor threatened you. Sure, I'm friends with those people, but it's because they love your book so much and we've bonded over our shared love for your characters. And I'm not condoning their actions, but I do hope you're able to understand they're joking and they would never truly wish anything negative to happen to you. It's a silly thing we do on Stan Twitter, and we don't always think about how it affects people. Well, maybe you should. And that's not funny. I'm not a part of any Stan Twitter, but that's ridiculous. You know what? I want an Adele album. I want it now. I want an Adele album. I want a Casey Musgraves album. There are so many albums that I want, but I would never tweet at them or tweet about them and not mention them and saying, threatening their life, or I'm gonna break into their house or find them and lock them up in a room and make them make me an album. Like, are you kidding? Is this misery? Is this a crossover? Stan Twitter and misery? I need people to get off the internet. Like, I really need people to log out, breathe, drink some water, go outside, feel the sunshine, because this is absolutely fucking bonkers. And Elizabeth also had tweets, I think, from the same person. The person who said, if you look at my timeline, I haven't said anything negative. And then a few hours before on their timeline, it said, how are you so nice to her? Mad respect, I want to claw out her eyes. I do it for Tallulah. I hate her so bad, but they need the info, so I push through. Anyway, all this to say, do not fucking do this for any piece of information you think someone owes to you because they don't owe it to you. Floored. floored when I saw this. Absolutely ridiculous. And then for Tess to continuously interact and say, please stop doing this. Like, I appreciate that you love the work. Please stop doing it. Just make it up. Just make up the fucking birthday. I don't understand. I really don't understand, but I hope that these people can stop doing this and tagging Tess, because it is obviously triggering a lot of things for them. And that is, I'm sorry, you're not being a fan of their work. You're being a piece of shit is what you are if you're doing this. So I don't think anyone in my viewership would be doing this, but if someone did come across this video and you're a part of some stan Twitter and you think this behavior is okay, it's not. No. Do not. Oh, wait, I wanted to add this because there was another short thread from Tess. I'm gonna talk about what happens next, and I want to apologize to the non-harassing readers this is going to affect. I've tried very hard to not get to this point, but here we are. Here's what's gonna happen. I'm no longer going to talk about Far From You publicly at all. I am not going to respond to messages about Far From You from anyone, even people I kind of recognize from the book world, which was my ongoing policy. This has not particularly hurt me, y'all. I adore that book, but I tend to let go of things. I do regret that it's going to affect the readers of that book who are not harassers, and I'm sorry I cannot connect with you anymore, but this situation is absolutely disturbing at this point. And here's where you fucked up, y'all. You made a decision for me that I've been pondering. I've been approached through the years from production companies about adapting Far From You. It's never been a company where it's worth it. That will likely change next year, and now this situation has made my decision for me. I will not sell the film subrights, and I will write it into my author's estate that those subrights cannot be sold after my death. That is what happens when you mess with the intellectual property holder. I've been super torn about the Far From You subrights, so thank you. This became an easy decision, and I have no angst about it anymore. Also, lots of rights revert back to the author, kids. I can choose to never let certain rights be exercised again after the terms are up. So, congratulations. If you loved it so much and you wanted it to be adapted, now it's not going to be because of some fuckwads. So, there's that. Like, imagine having to go that far because of how shitty some people are. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Hafsah Faizal, who's the author of We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars, which is a popular young adult duology. I haven't read it, but the more people keep fucking with Hafsah, I'm like, I'm gonna need to read it. But anyway, Hafsah Faizal seems to always be dragged into things that are always doing her dirty. And before, it was people comparing her new book that's coming out maybe next year or the year after, I'm not sure, that we heard about earlier in the year. And I think it includes maybe thieves or something and some tea, a few things that may be similar or that are in the Six of Crows duology. And people are like, oh, so it's just Six of Crows? And it's like, no, it's a totally different book. So anyway, she had to deal with that. Then she had to deal with being drug up in drama in the Emily Duncan situation when an author in Chipeco brought her up. And so now again, Hafsah has to deal with more mess because people ain't shit. So at first I saw this tweet and I didn't know what book it was about. The person said, excuse my language, but what the fuck? And so it is a screenshot, I think, of a Goodreads review. And it says, I'm going to give a very quick summary and tell me if it rings any bells. There is lost magic in this fantasy world. There is Zafira, our protagonist, who disguises herself as a guy and embarks on a journey to restore magic. There is a dark king wearing a necklace who is ruthless to his son, the Prince Nasir. Nasir wants to prove himself to his father and embarks on the same journey. I was so sure I read this somewhere before, and then ding ding, Throne of Glass. I felt like this book did not offer something new. I felt like it is a collection of stories I read before, but in an ancient Arabia settings. I didn't know what book they were talking about, but apparently they're talking about We Hunt the Flame by Hafsah. And, okay, I've read Throne of Glass, and that don't sound like Throne of Glass. Also, it has some common fantasy tropes. That happens. But obviously it's different because a different person wrote it, has a different setting, like all these. I haven't even read the book and I could tell you from that little blurb right there, they lying, and that is not Throne of Glass. And even if it had the same setup and tropes of Throne of Glass, it still wouldn't be Throne of Glass because it's a different story. Like, y'all get on my nerves with this stuff. Like, there are some things that are oddly similar to other works like Kingdom of Ash and Lord of the Rings. But anyway, that is obviously fantasy is inspired by a lot of the same older fantasy works. They use similar tropes, but when authors, especially marginalized authors, do it, it's usually way different because they're bringing their own background, cultural experiences to the story. And it's so unfair to compare this fantasy story by a white author to one by a marginalized author. And so, very ghetto of this person, whoever it was who wrote this review, and most of the people in the comments were like, are you fucking kidding me? It's nothing like Throne of Glass, which it is not. Like, did you really have to, you really said that? And then I saw a tweet, another tweet, but this one was by Hafsah. And it said, I know authors shouldn't dip into discourse surrounding their own work, but it's impossible to look away and pretend it doesn't hurt when that bleeds into invalidating my identity. It hurts when you call We Hunt the Flame Eurocentric and not diverse enough when I put years of work into doing the opposite. To the point that the very writing lends itself to the setting. The prose-heavy writing, being a part of world building, might not even be clear to most readers, but the oldest form of poetry dates back to Arabia. The oldest form of Arabic literature was Arabic poetry. You see? Zafira is blue-eyed and light-skinned. Binyamin is brown-eyed and dark-haired. Altair is blue-eyed and fair-haired. Nasir is gray-eyed and dark-skinned. Kifa is brown-eyed and black. All of this and more exists in Minna. As someone with ties to South Asia and Minna, I can almost see where the lack of knowledge is coming from. I've read countless stories that harped Minna rep only for it to be an amalgamation of South Asian and Minna that was infuriating for the longest time. We Hunt the Flame might not give you a fantasy tale some would call unique, but it won't give you a story and world and characters that feed into harmful stereotypes and caricatures either. And because I know someone will misconstrue this, you're allowed to critique and bash the book. It's yours to do so. But I've seen so many readers hurt by recent We Hunt the Flame commentary, and that is not okay. Let's critique a book without causing harm. I've had Arab readers laud the rep. I've had Arab readers call the rep terrible. Both are valid, but unless you're Arab, Swana? I'm not sure what that stands for. Yourself, I don't think you can police the rep in the book. We Hunt the Flame has been out for more than 2 years. I'm drained, I'm exhausted, and I'm even more tired just thinking of the fact that A Tempest of Tea, a heist fantasy, is going to have it even worse. And so yes, A Tempest of Tea is a heist, and so then automatically people are like, it's Six of Crows. And so that is such bullshit. And I think this happens often. We see it often coming up on book Twitter that people, and it's usually white people, will read a book by an author of color, whether that's black, brown, Asian, different things. And the book has cultural references or is a cultural story, so forth and so on, talks about things that are unique to that person. And the white readers are like, I didn't understand this, or this didn't make sense, or I don't think this is good representation. How are you gonna tell a person who wrote the story of their own like cultural background that this isn't good representation? Just like Hafsah said, unless you were part of these groups, your critique is not valid. Like, you can say you didn't like the writing, you didn't like the story, like you can say those things, but it comes down to when you're talking about like, I couldn't relate to the character because I'm not South Asian, or this book didn't have good representation, or it wasn't Asian enough, it wasn't Arabic enough. Who gives you the right to say that? I think this happened with someone said the Poppy War wasn't Asian enough. It happens all the time. And like I said, I'm so tired of seeing these people come for Hafsah time and time again. I'm really tired of it. I haven't even read the book, but I'm tired of the Hafsah slander. It's getting out of control. Okay, SWANA stands for Southwest Asian North African. So no. Hafsah also said, We Hunt the Flame takes place in a world inspired by ancient Arabia. This means you will find an entirely made-up fantasy universe. PSA, do not open an author of color's book and leave disappointed because you weren't given a history lesson or a crash course on a culture. That's what nonfiction is for. If a book teaches you something, great, a fiction book, and you definitely still can learn some things from reading a fictional story. But if you wanted some whole like background, a history lesson on a certain culture or time period, pick up a nonfiction book. These authors are not here to teach you something. They do not owe that to you. And I see that time and time again, like, I didn't really learn anything from this. Well, go look it up. Find you a documentary, find you a podcast, find you a nonfiction book about that topic if you become interested. I often read things that are inspired by some point in history or some culture, and then I'm like, ooh. And I go to Google and I look it up and I'm like, ooh. And then I go, turns into a wormhole and it's very interesting, and then you find a book or you find a podcast or you find a movie and I'm like, oh, let me learn. But do not come at these authors in your review, especially when you're not in that group, and say, oh, this just was not good rep and I just didn't learn anything. Like, really? Kick rocks. I'm tired of it. I'm gonna have to read these damn books so I can be Team Hafsah, because I'm really sick of y'all. And you know, when I say y'all, not y'all, but I'm sick of it. It's just like, I don't understand why people keep disrespecting her. It's out of control. It's truly ghetto. Cut it out. Hi, handsome. Hello. Are you calmer now? Are you tired? Are you beautiful? Yes, you are. Going through my bookmarks, this was not on my list, but I had another tweet thread by Tess Sharpe, and I just wanted to read it really quickly because I remember when I saw this, I was like, oh, I should talk about it, and then I forgot. But anyway, Tess said, bought a subscription to the bookseller today because they're the only ones I've seen talk about advanced splitting shenanigans that the US publishers seem to be trying to implement broadly. Interestingly, this article, behind a paywall, I'm afraid, is not about the thing I'm seeing the most. This article is more about how in multi-book deals, publishers have been reducing their signing payments to 30% instead of you getting the first 30% of both books on signing. They didn't go into the thing I'm seeing the most, which is the attempt to split the advance into fourths, and the final fourth is delivered on paperback publication or a year after hardback publication. I appreciate the bookseller going into the financial repercussions of these kinds of choices and how it can limit diversity and marginalize writers and favor ones who come from more financial and social privilege. One of the big sells of a multi-book deal is that you get more of the advance up front, i.e. financial freedom to write, despite being locked into a contract that might not be as favorable as one you get if, say, your first book does amazing. And then Amy Tintera, which I have it bookmarked, but now it says this tweet has been deleted, quote tweeted and said, advances are being split into 4 and 5 payments now. We need to talk about how bad this is for authors. So now, of course, I can't see any replies or quote tweets to that. Then there was another quote tweet, which I had bookmarked, that said, what's absolutely infuriating about this is that pubs use the pandemic as an excuse to start doing this, with the idea that would keep them afloat when book sales inevitably took a big hit. But books did better than expected in 2020, and they're still pushing this. So that's really interesting that they're splitting it, especially waiting a whole year or until your book goes to paperback to pay the final amount. And just like Tess said, of course, that's going to favor people who aren't counting on this money exclusively to be able to sustain them. Because if you're like really counting on this money and thought you would get it up front, then that's going to be harder. You're going to maybe have to work a full-time job or change your living circumstances so you continue to write. And it's such crap, since this was, maybe they did it as a temporary thing because of the pandemic, but people read more than ever, people bought more books, and as we see, publishing has hella money, and with them freaking mashing together or merging, they have so much money, but of course it's kept for the people at the top and not paying people down at the bottom, especially certain authors. Like we saw last summer with Publishing Paid Me, the differences in advances and payments for books for white authors and then non-white authors. And so it is, we know, if you watch the channel regularly, we know that publishing is shady, but further breaking down, especially if your deal isn't super huge, and then further breaking down the payments into fourths and holding out on your final payment just seems so freaking shady to me, and I'm tired of it. Also, related to this, since Tess brought up the fact that this article was about a paywall, I'm getting so frustrated. Like, I've broken down and finally paid for a subscription to the New York Times and Publishers Weekly because they are things that I see come up a lot with articles that I want to read, especially for this series. But like, sometimes I'll just want to read an article and it's like you have to subscribe, and I'm like, can I just pay you $1 to read this freaking article, like 50 cents? Like, that's a whole nother topic. I'm really getting sick of like seeing amazing articles and then I can't read them unless I subscribe. But anyway, my battery is gonna die soon, so I need to get on to this final topic so I don't have to charge my battery and come back to this video. So someone tagged me in this thread under this anatomy book, and they're like, I know this is kind of different, but I mean, it's a book, so we're gonna talk about it here. And it's so weird. There is so much art in this anatomy book, which makes sense, so you can show different things. But a lot of it is, who published this? It's not okay. There's so much, and I don't think I'll be able to include all of it in here, or this will take forever. But anyway, the person is reading this book and they're taking pictures of the art in it, and it has a lot of questionable imagery in the book. Like there's a picture of like a white person and an Asian person, and they have under it Westerner eyes, thin eyelids, light colored iris makes people more visible, prone to direct communication. Then they have Asian eyes, thick eyelids, dark colored irises make pupils less visible, prone to indirect metaphorical communication. Then they have another one with the imagery of, I'm guessing this is supposed to be a black person, and they have like little things coming around them as if they smell. They've got big ears and big lips, and like, because it said, but not for people in hot climates. And then they have a person who I'm guessing is supposed to be like an indigenous person who lives further up north, and they're like in really thick clothing as if they live in the cold. And it says preserving heat is very important for guys like us who live in the cold environment. And then on the what looks like a black person says, but not for people in hot climates. So maybe the thing is like supposed to be heat and they're sweating, but it looks like they're supposed to stink, and just the art is questionable. And then they just keep going, and some of it I don't understand because some of it's like art based, but then a lot of it has like male versus female anatomy. And a lot of the images of the women are all very like sexually suggestive versus the men. Like this one of a woman, she has on like a crop top, and she's like, am I in danger? And the man's like, no, not really. And somebody behind him is like, I think he's the one in danger. I don't know. Like they have different pictures of anatomy, which some of the stuff as a person who is assigned as female at birth or male at birth is true. Like they have women, females tend to have a wider pelvis for childbirth, and you know, men have like they're like I can't think of the bone name, but like they have a stronger brow and all this stuff like that is anatomically correct. But some of the art is weird. Like I'll just be putting them here on the screen, and you can pause if you want to look at it more, but it's just some of it's like laughable, but also like who decided this should be published as like a text to reference for anatomy. And let's see, like this right here, I don't know, that's talking about hands and just the imagery that they're using, how the person looks. Wait, this is one that I just was like, do you see just how the art of all the women is just like so sexually suggestive? Like this one is talking about like quads and like how where the bone is. And this has how the bone, it says it remains in an outward position when the legs are bent back, forming a V. It makes it easier to cross legs. And then how this woman right here is like sitting. Like it says pantyhose, miniskirt, and high heels all contribute to making the shank look longer than it actually is. I don't know. Is this person, are we overreacting? I'm gonna just show you all these art clips because some of it is laughable, but some of it is like, are you really kidding me? It just seems unwise. And there's so many, I can't even put them all in here, but I'll have the thread linked down below. So many people are like, this is doing physical damage to me. What on earth am I seeing? I'm starting to understand why some artists just use anatomical reference text that medical students use, because this is so uneducated. Like, what the hell? Truly. Like, please. Like, maybe they were like, I'm trying to make anatomy fun. I'm going to add in my own drawings. But maybe you shouldn't have. Maybe you should have just stuck with the regular, and then of course they have like this thing with nose, like Caucasian nose, Asian nose, African nose, and then with the bone structure. Yeah, this ain't good. So the person who tagged me said that the artist is J.H. Stonehouse, who is Korean. So that's very interesting. But the art, The art, yeah, no. I know that typical traditional anatomy books maybe could be dry, but I would rather just look at the boring scientific drawings than this. No. That's too much. So anyway, I don't know what that book is called. I'll find it and put it here if you were in the market for an anatomy book. Maybe you don't get this one. I mean, you can if you want, you know. Do what you want, but it's a hot mess. Also, lastly, because I thought this was hilarious, but I saw a tweet, it was a few weeks ago, and they said, I rejected a white woman's manuscript because it was full of problematic content with its mixed race protagonist and also not very good. And her response was to tell me she was mixed race in 2 past lives.
Tell me she was mixed race in 2 past lives.
And quite honestly, I don't think anything else in my editorial career will top this email. I'm done being okay with white folks, especially white women, profiting off the representation stampede with their brown paper doll pro tags in publishing, but this was really a truly special experience that we'll treasure and carry with me forever. I never want to be someone to bash on subs in public because I think that's unkind, but the woman insinuated that I was 1, stupid, 2, racist, 3, my rejection of her was equal to publishing's history of gatekeeping by POC in her reply, so I chose not to feel bad. I just find that hilarious. They said she said she was mixed race in 2 past lives, not 1, but 2. And on that note, we're gonna end this video before my camera dies. Some people. So lots of mess per usual. Please don't harass authors. Stop coming for Hafsah Faizal. I'm really tired of it. And I'll have any information or direct links in my description, as well as links to information about my book club that's starting. Oh my God, it's almost July. And what book we're reading. I have a Twitter account. I'm working on a Discord. Information to links on things going on around the world, ways you can support my channel, and just stay tuned because tomorrow when you see, so if you're watching this on Tuesday, tomorrow, June 30th, is my official 1-year anniversary of my channel, which is cray. And so I'm going to be announcing lots of stuff starting on July 1st. So you might want to stay tuned if you're interested. But as always, thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry that my child star was so uncooperative. I'll throw in some Nigel photos for the fans, which are all of you. And I just appreciate you watching this video. So please stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreened. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.